Good evening, everybody. I hope you are available. You're watching this, you're following this. I am here this evening and looking forward to all of you. For the first time, I am featuring on my brother Pompi's page, which is really interesting. So, which means not only am I on my own page, but I'm also on his page. So, I know people will be coming in slowly and kind of getting familiar. But for those of you joining us for the first time, remember that this is called the Reds Rants. It's part of my stuff that I do. And today we're tackling what I consider a very, very important topic. In fact, so important that we need to really give it the highlight it deserves. It's a touchy topic because of the nature and way in which it is entangled and the implications it carries. This is one of those topics where the industry itself is a serious I could be right to say multi-billion kwacha industry. I don't think I'll be exaggerating to say that. It is a multi-billion kwacha industry generating bucket loads of money. And so that means in terms of revenue for government, in terms of revenue through taxation, in terms of revenue for the people that run in the industry and all the supply chains that support this industry, there's very serious money being made. And I will get into that a bit later. Now, I've been speaking about this for a long time. And so if you're joining us for the first time, please, there is my YouTube channel. In case you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and, of course, click the notification button to be notified. But that aside, thank you for joining us this evening and being a part of this. I will ask you guys, wherever you are, please tag someone. If you believe in this campaign, if you believe that gambling and betting is a clear and present danger and it has very serious implications in destroying lives, if you're part of those that believe that, then I'm asking you to tag friends. I'm asking you to share this transmission to everybody out there so that we're able to seriously help people. Why? Because of the implications that we'll be running. Now, one of the biggest pluses about this whole campaign is that this gentleman that you're seeing on the screen next to me there is a very well-known individual. So if you're watching this and you never crawled out of a rock somewhere, never heard of this gentleman, his name is Pompi. It does happen, Pompi, from time to time. There's always somebody out there that's never heard of you. So this gentleman, Pompi, is a wonderful brother. He's actually a fellow in the faith. We are both, believers. We share the same faith. Beyond that is also a renowned multi-level influence in terms of his music. His music has come across Zambia. It's crossed into many parts of the continent and it is used heavily, and as a result, because of the impact he's had musically as a Christian, he has also been able to be a voice in many instances, also used as a brand ambassador in the past, and right now has very serious clout in terms of a following. So when he decided to jump on the campaign of gambling and betting and creating awareness for responsible marketing of this space, I said, whoa, that's a campaign I'm happy to join under his umbrella, because I've been talking about it for years. But the difference is that he's a multi-platinum musician with a huge following, and I'm just a clergyman fighting with a lot of interesting people on my platform. So anytime we can get somebody to join in the voice and push it out there, definitely we want to kind of carry on with that. So today it gives me great pleasure to actually feature for the first time on the Revs Rants none other than Pompi. I know him in a much deeper way, but let's stick with the Pompi. Pompi, you're more than welcome.
Rev, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Indeed. And so maybe let's begin with why? Why did you decide to pick? You are a very reserved, very held back, very particular individual when it comes to your brand, when it comes to your work. I have observed you over the years. You are extremely, what's that word? Caged and protective of what you associate with. So to see you pick up a cause like this was quite, I must say, quite amazing for me, because I know you just pretty much stay away. I mean, even your social media activity is extremely measured. You're not one of those that's online there, you know. You just kind of stay to yourself. So what was the big moment that made you get onto this?
I think what motivated me to jump on it is just the reality of what it is. I I would say I sort of connected the dots backwards from seeing victims of gambling, even as close as family. And I would say it's the same story for a lot of people in Zambia. They know somebody in their family, or they know a story somewhere of somebody who lost everything to gambling. You know, so basically, I think the more I started to understand what it is and recognize what it is, I felt at a certain time when the danger now is that the way it's being advertised, the way it's being treated, I sort of felt it's getting preferential treatment for a reason unknown to me. Why? Is because I believe gambling is, not that I believe, it's a fact. According to the WHO, it basically places gambling as that gambling disorder as an actual disease. It's something that is comes from gambling. Those are the effects of gambling. So obviously, and there's a doctor that's just recently did a study and basically compared gambling and its addiction to opioids. So now, if we are going to basically, the hashtag for my campaign is basically it may not be sound very cool, but I thought it calls gambling for what it is, and it's a vice. Now, my campaign is not to say that it should be banned, because I mean, gambling, it's an ancient practice. It's something that is an ancient practice. It was there even in biblical times. So it's not that it's not that I'm pushing to campaign to ban it, but for it to be treated for what it is, which is a vice. Now, I gave examples like of cigarettes. That a cigarette companies, because it's known that this is a vice, cigarette companies obviously put restrictions on advertisement of the vice, or especially like you not see a billboard or a TV ad that is selling advertisement.
That's right.
Basically for the vice. So basically, I'm saying that it should be treated as a vice. And the reason why it may be getting preferential treatment, I mean, is one of the things that a lot of people have been putting in the comments section is that, this thing empowers the youth, and this thing actually is something that, if I can say, it contributes to the government's taxes. But for me, from an ethical point of view, I beg to differ, because that money that is being made, where is it coming from? It's coming from the people who've lost their money to obviously the betting companies. And I feel that a lot of people need to realize that it's a known fact about gambling that the house always wins. So at the end of the day, the gambling companies go with the bulk of the profit, and most of them, people should be curious to ask themselves how many betting companies are owned by Zambians. So these are actually foreign entities that are setting up here, not multiplying money. They're not multiplying money or multiplying productivity. They are simply partitioning money that's taken from the vulnerable and partitioning it, a percentage to the government, a percentage to themselves, and a percentage to the winners. But if you look at those percentages, even the odds of winning, the odds, I put a comment the other day that the odds are laughing in the background. The odds are actually laughing at the victim in the background, because the odds are not in the favor, the odds of you winning are not in favor of you. So just understanding that, and understanding that this thing, I'm not necessarily bringing something up that's reinventing the wheel. It has been done. It's actually just of a few, I just read a few hours ago that Connecticut has put the exact same regulations that I was presenting, that the lawmakers have actually submitted a bill to restrict advertisement of gambling or betting apps on any platform that can be accessible to minors or young people. So it's not something new, but they do this understanding that it has got consequences. Now, to just look the other way and not talk about it, I felt that I was in the position at least to say something, and that hopefully that something could be done. And there has been some progress. I loved the other day I saw that the Lusaka City Council had actually banned shops from having gambling machines inside the shops. Why was because obviously the government had recognized that there were minors who were using those machines. They were going with coins, and minors who were getting addicted to gambling. And they were using these machines. Yeah, minors, children.
Wow.
Yeah. So now that's why they decided, and also obviously it's not that those shops are not transparent in regards to tax. So they prefer the ones that are obviously a bit more, the ones who got the licenses to gamble. But still, I feel that's a step forward, and it's fantastic. We are very grateful, Lusaka City Council. But the issue is, this medium, this vice has taken a new form. Now it's in people's phones.
Oh yeah, that's the real danger.
Yeah. So now, if it's in people's phones and it's a vice, it's clearly a vice, accessible, right, and something that is in your child's pocket. Is it okay for your child to be able to see an advertisement that's selling that vice, which we know, according to science, it's a fact. It's not even a subject of debate. It's known that it causes addiction. So that's just where I felt that, just in being responsible and responsible for the next generation, that I just needed to speak about it, and because I think it's something that's is growing to become a big problem, and I don't think the problems have started properly yet. But I think given 5 years left unchecked, there are definitely going to be consequences of gambling.
You have to forgive me. I was
gambling at this scale because the casino has nothing on betting apps right now. The casino is the old way of doing things. The new way is mobile apps.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Actually, you know what's interesting? Sorry, there's a bit of a situation with my connectivity here, so I hope it's working. Can you hear me? If you can, just confirm. And then
I can hear you.
Okay, great. Now that my video will come on, it's just being a bit funny. But nonetheless, let's continue. So one of the most interesting things is I did collect some statistics here, which are just insanely crazy. These are statistics from the US and the UK and Australia. And here's what they say. Now, according to the National Council on Problem Gambling, so imagine there's a council on problem gambling. Approximately 2% of adults in the US, that's around 6 million people, meet the criteria for gambling disorder. Now,
6 million people.
Yeah, imagine. And on top of this, it also reports that gambling disorder affects 1% of adolescents. Adolescents. Huh? So they're saying 750,000 youth are actually bound in this. That means under the age of 19. Now, a further study by the Journal of Behavioral Addictions found that online gambling, which is what you now are addressing, is associated with a higher risk of gambling problems, with 20% of online gamblers getting into severe gambling-related problems. And you know, that statistic alone really freaked me out. And I'll tell you why it did. Because it made me realize that if people are struggling with this, then what are the implications when you have influencers come on platforms and tell people, use my line, use my code, use this, go and bet your money. And these are influencers. These are people that people look up to, and that's what they do. So you can imagine the implications of it. Maybe let me get your comment on this before we continue. Just please continue. You'll see me go off a bit, but I'll come back on.
Yeah, I mean, it's right on point. I think, I mean, those stats, it is worrying. You know, here's another stat. So apparently, this is actually scientifically, as in this, they've done this research. So apparently, 1 in 5 problem gamblers commits suicide or attempts to commit suicide. 1 in 5. That is the worst of any addiction. I'll say that again. 1 in 5 problem gamblers commit suicide or attempt to commit suicide or have thoughts of committing suicide. That's the highest of any addiction.
So now, meaning alcoholics, drug addicts do not go to the level of the gamblers, right?
They do not. In regards to in regards to the statistics, in regards to suicide, they do not. Yeah. So another thing is, I mean, here the thing is, the gambling companies are being given free rein to just move and do what they want, and that's what I felt just needs regulation. As a Zambian people, we should be responsible enough to watch. I mean, we are as believers, we are called to be stewards. We are called to be stewards and to be leaders, and I think it's just our responsibility to speak out. And thank you so much, Rev, for, I mean, your personality is so necessary to this generation, because I mean, I love your platform and how you really speak lots of truths, and I follow your page keenly. I just saw today when you were talking even about you were talking about education, and you know, you speak about education in regards to that. It's a lot of memorization and the like. That's also a very uncomfortable subject to speak about, and I feel we need to mature as a kingdom to begin to talk about subjects that may seemingly be uncomfortable, because I believe that by default our posture as believers is offensive to the world. So getting whipped for speaking out is a prerequisite. You cannot run away from that. You cannot shy away from the idea that our title as believers or being in Christ.
I don't know if it's me who's lost the signal or it's Chaka who's lost the signal here. Those listening, please confirm if you can hear me or see me, or if you can hear Pompi speaking. Just confirm by typing in the comments, because he's just frozen. So sometimes that happens when he receives a call or if there's a problem with the network. So just confirm if you can hear me right now. Just type yes, 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 yes. If I see 1 or 2 yeses, oh, we can see you. He's lost his signal. Okay, you can hear me. Oh, great. Thank you, guys. Okay, so which means we'll wait for him to come back. He will come back soon, so he's been kicked out. But as you heard for yourself, those are very critical points that he raised, especially the one on suicide. I think that's amazing, that 1 in 5 people are actually contemplating or even going ahead with suicide. That's really, really scary. And do you know the 2% statistic? You know that 2% statistic is going to happen to Zambia. Let me tell you why. This betting industry in our country is still in its infancy. That means it's still in its birth. So it hasn't really grown yet, but it's growing. Especially the online, wait for the signal, there it is. So especially the online gambling platforms, those are so powerful. It's the same reason why pornography is so powerful, because it's on the phone, and all right, there, it's come back. So it's one of those things that are readily available and you can access it at the click of a button. Can you imagine? This is something that maybe 5-10 years ago was a process, but you know, to get onto it was very difficult. But now they've simplified it by adding it to the phone. They've made it very convenient, because now they also have, you know, ability to pay with the interlinked payment platforms. So you can pay with your card, you can pay with your mobile money, and especially mobile money. So this has made it so profoundly easy. I mean, look at what Ndangiest is saying. She's saying that someone attempted suicide last week after losing money. But do you know that every time people are actually losing money and contemplating suicide all the time? Since we started this campaign, I've had a number of people reach out to me and say, Rev, this is what's going on. We are failing. I am feeling bad. I think it's just better I end my life because now I have too many debts. And you know what's even scarier? So many people have literally given up so much in their life just because of debt. Sorry, we had lost you there, so we got you back. Please continue with your line of thought. I was just talking about the suicide issues, but please continue with your line of thought so that we move together.
Yeah, so I think, anyway, I actually lost my train of thought when it went off, but basically, I think the motivation was just the data. I mean, we shouldn't respond from a social, I love something that Jeff Bezos said recently. I think I shared it with you when we had a coffee the other day, that as human beings, we're not pursuers of truth. We are more social beings, and we sort of thrive more around emotion. And the thing is, data, they say numbers don't lie,
Yeah.
And I mean, as responsible people, if you get data that points to a problem, and that this problem is, having the percentages in America that you are expressing. I mean, for here, we may not have the body to be able to collect that data, but I am quite sure that it is a problem, because I'm hearing even testimonies of schools that have to put regulation, they have to put rules in the school that you cannot use the school apps to bet, the school computer to bet.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So
now,
yeah,
I was doing some numbers, Pompi. I was doing some numbers. I was doing some calculations. Many of our youth in Zambia are already suffering these stats, like we said. The only difference is, like I said, it's in its infancy. But in 5 years' time, down the road, they will become more prevalent with the same 2%. Now, do you know that 2% in Zambia translates to 200,000 people?
200,000.
Think about it. 200,000 of the 18.
Yeah,
that's a lot of people. And if they are telling us that 20% of the 200,000 are adolescents, do you know what that means? That means 40,000 will be under the age of 18. That's scary.
Exactly.
40,000.
Yeah.
So you want to say something there just before I throw in some other stats?
No. I'm just in total agreement. Yeah.
Can you imagine the implication of that, Chaka? If you're going to have 40,000 youngsters bound in this manner, what are the implications when it comes to their management of life and the issues that, pertain to their progress and success? Can you imagine how many will easily consider suicide? Because they will be so afraid. Okay, and that will put them at a place where they don't have the capacity to, the people under the age of 18 normally, according to neuroscience, haven't got the proper capacity to make mature and sensible decisions. So imagine they find themselves having taken a 5,000 for maybe school fees and then gambled it all. What are the chances a young man is going to end up committing suicide? Quite.
And the dynamics are so, I mean, it goes so deep, because I mean, gambling even is known, casinos, for example, we're known, they have a culture. Why? I don't think it's a coincidence that certain activities are around casinos. Why? Is because it's a culture. When you create a mindset of instant gratification, and the mindset to say that your ambition should be to have luck one day and become a millionaire, rather than working hard and having a vision and working towards it. Those are actually opposing mindsets. One builds, one really is just designed to steal. I mean, you cannot submit your destiny to luck. Yeah, exactly. And luck with the odds working against you.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because like you said at the beginning of this show, the house always wins. Now,
Always
people
win.
like I'm a bit of a movie guy. So, movies like Casino with Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci are one of my favorites. Yes, it's got a lot of swear words. I agree, it's very vulgar. But the story and the lessons are very interesting because you watch how the mafia manage the gambling space. And interestingly, this is something that obviously I don't have stats to prove it, but it is known that most casinos and gambling are handled by mafia types because of the nature of the business. So it's a business that there's always people trying to cheat. There's always people trying to con the house. So they tend to be behind the scenes a bit more hard. When they learn that you've learned some tricks on how to beat the house, they come for you, my friend. They bring some strong men to break your knees, just to teach you one or two lessons. So it's a very, very dark space in terms of who runs it and who operates in it. And in an awkward kind of way, it reminds me of the same story with the pusher. Now, I want to bring this angle in. In the drug industry, when a pusher is basically a drug dealer, right? When they move into a new market, you know what they do? For those of you listening, I mean, Pompi obviously know this. But what they do is they get a sample. Maybe they cut about, maybe for argument's sake, 300 grams. Okay, that's too much. Maybe they cut about maybe 15, 20 grams of their drug. And then they pack it in little packages. Then they walk around the neighborhood and offer free samples. Here's a free sample. Just have a taste of our stuff. It's some good stuff. Just have that on the house, on the house, on the house. And they go around the whole entire neighborhood just giving free samples. And the funny thing, once they've done that, they just sit back because it won't take long. Literally the following day, a number of people come back. Do you have some stuff, man? I need to get a hit. I need to get a hit. So already people start coming because that's the key. So they give a free offer, knowing very well, one hit, you're hooked like mad, and you're going to come back, especially crack cocaine, very deadly stuff. One hit, you're done. And like Natasha Nambela is saying here, the free samples are bait. Now, guess what, those of you listening? Don't the betting houses offer free money? They're offering 200 kwacha. They're offering 500 kwacha. They're even offering 1,000 kwacha. I've seen ads where they say, get your free gift of 1,000 kwacha when you sign up in the next 2 hours. Use the promo code 1,000 whatever. And so, they're not stupid, because if this money was really free, what they would have done is to say, you can withdraw it, but they're not dumb. You can't withdraw the money. They've given you the 1,000, but you can't withdraw it. You have to bet with it. And when you bet, then if you win, then you can withdraw. But we all know that that's usually targeted to newcomers because they know they'll get you. They will get you. They will let you win 1, 2, 3 times. And then before you know it, you start losing and losing. And there goes your 1,000. And now starts going your real money. And before you know it, you are lost all the money. Maybe a little comment on the free bait model before we look at other things.
Yeah, no, I mean I think you've made it very clear. I mean, free baiting wise, because you've got a high chance of getting a return customer, especially if there are those people who are they've just got addictive tendencies. Those by default are just vulnerable. Of course, there's those and minors, which is why I like to specify a lot on minors. You cannot be okay with the idea that minors should have access to this kind of content. Especially this is why I rejected being an ambassador, which is I mean, a lot of people, even question my motive really. But I think if they would understand that in the background, I mean, it's not that I haven't been offered these betting deals, but why my conscience could not allow me is because I know that there is a youth there who, when I validate that, and if I say that, look, I am successful because of a promo code, that might become their frame of mindset that this is what needs to be done in order for you to be successful. And of course, that's not how, especially in the kingdom. The kingdom is a kingdom that teaches stewardship, and stewardship. If you cannot live in stewardship, you cannot leave people to submit to a vice like that. And multiple, even Brazil recently also passed a law that the betting companies cannot advertise gambling or betting as a route to financial freedom. Because it went that far. And even here, it's happening in a subtle way, because a lot of the youth who are opposing what I'm saying are saying that Ufuno Juba youth empowerment. But in what way does this thing empower? I mean, point to from which angle? I mean, I don't see any angle in which this empowers. It will empower, of course, the minority at the cost of many. And those minorities will become the people who everyone aspires to be. And they will give you small victories just in order to make you stay. But there's an article that I was reading that gambling actually is designed in a way to get your money over a long period of time. So they give you small victories to give you that high, to give you that dopamine, and also the losing bet. When you lose, they give you another bet to they make suggestions to and obviously when you've lost, you are driven to try again and to regain. You now want to use the same vice to recover from that loss that you've made. Actually, it's interesting. In the BBC documentary that I've been tagging a lot of people in, what they did is the lady basically sat down with the punter over a 1 year period and looked at all the bets that he had made over that year. And he personally thought that he was doing okay. And there were two things that came out from this research, which I found very interesting. So as a punter over the 1 year, they looked at actually the money he was putting in and the money he won. He had a lot of testimonies of winning, and he was leaning more on the testimonies of winning without realizing how much he had lost. So when they did the math, they actually discovered that he made less by around, I think in their currency, I can remember it was 150,000 or something in the Ugandan currency. And the documentary actually highlights all these things that we're saying. There's multiple documentaries, articles talking about it. So it's nothing new. It's maybe just it's something that hasn't been given the mainstream platform to be in the conversations. But it's a very addiction even also leads to domestic violence. Addiction by nature means that you will be distracted. Meaning, when you're at work, you won't be working, you'll be betting. When you're at church, you won't be listening to the sermon. Your mind will be on betting. That's what addiction does. It distracts you from other things. Obviously, it breaks homes. It has done a lot of damage. I've seen yourself share some testimonies of people. There are a lot of media houses, media outlets that have started sharing examples of people who are now speaking out. Yes. I actually have people in my comment section who are saying, I need help out of the addiction. Can you help me? But which is why I'm being a bit vocal about this, because regulation can sort of help those things. In some countries, regulation has been put in place that the gambling companies are supposed to make an investment to help victims of addiction.
That's right. So it becomes part of their important, right? Yeah, exactly. It becomes part of CSR by force.
Exactly. Yep. Now imagine like an opioid, pandemic, if you can say, that's going on. We're going to stop it. We're going to respond to it, accordingly. But now, if we are saying a gambling pandemic, we sort of we're giving it preferential treatment, and that's what I'm speaking against. That it should be treated as a vice, just like all the other vices. Yeah.
Well said. So what I want to do in our next 30 minutes is I'm going to name. So I'll be naming these signs. So there are 15 signs that one may be an addict or may be having what we call a severe gambling related disorder. And the more yeses people answer. So as you listen, we'll be discussing, we'll be going through each one of these 15 points. And the more yeses people answer to this, the more you are already having a severe disorder in terms of gambling. So what I want to do, I will mention each one, then of course Pompi will have a conversation around it, but this will be used as a means to kind of just trigger that realization for those of you watching us this evening. So number one, have you found yourself increasingly preoccupied thinking? Okay, we've lost Pompi, will come back. So number one, have you found yourself increasingly preoccupied thinking about gambling, reliving past gambling experiences, or planning future gambling experiences? That's question number one. Have you found yourself increasingly preoccupied thinking about gambling, reliving past gambling experiences, or planning future gambling activities? So that's the first question there. And so you can think, if you say yes to that, but there are more. But if you say no, then maybe you're safe. But I know a lot of people, that's why when they receive money, when they receive any kind of money, because they are already preoccupied with this, where an ordinary person would say, oh, let me put that into cement so that I can go and finish my plot. They will say, let me try some odds. Let me bet on some odds. And then if I get money, then I can still make back the 5 pin, which I can take to my blocks whilst I've made extra money. So every time they receive money from anywhere, their preoccupation is gambling. Can I put that money and then I'll make something? So that's number one. If you found yourself increasingly preoccupied. Number two, Pompi will just join us wherever he finds us. Number two, have you found yourself losing control when you try to cut back on gambling? Have you found yourself saying, okay, I've stopped, but 1 week later, 2 weeks later, you're back. 3 weeks later, you're back. Have you found yourself losing control of the capacity to cut back or control the gambling habit? So if that's a yes again, wow, we're not at a good place. Number three, have you found yourself actually suffering withdrawal symptoms, meaning irritability, restlessness, or even anxiety when you're unable to gamble? Do you find yourself literally getting into a bad mood because you can't gamble? So if somebody took your phone, or if somebody took something away from you, do you find yourself struggling? Okay, Pompi is back. So let's see if we can add him. Alrighty, there he is. Sorry about that, bro. I know the internet is giving you hell. So I'm going through the questions. I already went through number one, number two. So let me just repeat. Okay, let me just repeat them for your sake. Number one, do you find yourself increasingly preoccupied in terms of excessive time thinking about gambling, reliving past gambling experiences, or planning future gambling activity? So that's the first one. Two, have you found yourself having a loss of control when you try to cut back or control? You find within a week you're back. So is that another issue? Then number three, so you pick it up from here. Number three, do you actually suffer something akin to withdrawal symptoms, meaning irritability, restlessness, and even anxiety when unable to gamble? Like if somebody's just stopped you, do you actually find yourself going through all this anxiety because you're failing to gamble? So that's number three. Maybe I could get your input on those three before we go on. But everybody that's watching, my internet seems to have frozen here, so I hope I'm still audible. You're able to hear me. But if you can, I continue. What's your take on those three there, Pompi? Before we continue, for those of you, if you say yes to any of these, especially the three in a row, you're already exhibiting bad signs. Pompi, your comment.
Very, 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 very interesting that you said that. And you shared those three actually, because I'll point back to the documentary, which I would encourage everyone to watch. I mean, it's a very deep subject, and actually, in the same documentary, it shows the young man now going to, I don't know if you can say they're therapists.
Yeah.
Basically, they were saying that most addicts are unaware that they are addicted, so they need to get to a place where they admit or they know that they are out. Because addiction sort of places you in an ignorance to see, in where you are not even aware that you're addicted.
Yeah.
So now he considered himself that he's not an addict, but when they did the test on him, he walked away from that test actually positive as an addict.
Yeah.
And he walked, I mean, if you watch the documentary, he walked out of that room almost, downtrodden. He was broken because he didn't realize that this had taken this much of a toll on him.
Agreed.
You know, so it's something that even I will push further beyond the advertisement regulation, and I don't know if I'm pressing a bit too hard. But I would push further. But the betting companies need to take responsibility in acknowledging that they are problem gamblers, that the people are addicted, and just like any other drug, give support to those people who are caught in that addiction. I think that's the responsible thing to do, and the ethical thing to do.
And I tell you, that's what would have to push for legislature, because to be honest, it's not going to happen. When it comes to such things, no business person is interested in helping people who are getting caught in the vice. They'll say, hey, come on, people drink. If it becomes a drug, an alcoholic, is not my fault. That's what they'll say. So you find that only through legislature and deliberate policy are they forced to do that. But let me continue with the remaining 12 points. Still, if you're getting yeses for any of this, my friends, it's rough. So let me do another 3, and then Pompi can give his position. Number 4, do you find yourself tolerating an increasing amount of money which you need to gamble in order to feel a sense of satisfaction? So the tolerance level keep going up. Before you were gambling 10 kwacha, 5 kwacha, but you're just not getting the kick anymore. So you feel you need to take that to 50 kwacha, you need to take that to 100 kwacha, you need to take that to 500 kwacha, because you're like, I saw somebody comment on my page and said, this kind of money, you can put 10 pin on a 3.5 odd and make a 35 pin. That's what I'd do. Like, wow. So you see, people like that no longer are satisfied with the small gambling. They want bigger amounts. So the question to you is, are you finding your tolerance levels going higher? Number 4. Number 5, are you using gambling as a means to escape from problems, stress, or negative emotions? Do you go to gamble in order to feel good about yourself? Because in the words of Pompi, you're looking for the dopamine high. The dopamine high. You want that high, and you only get, it's like the way people feel when they take alcohol. They go there as a coping mechanism. So are you using gambling as a means to cope with pain in your life? Okay, so that's number 5. If it's a yes, not good. Number 6, and this is the big one. I think you talked about it, Pompi. Are you chasing losses to recover back what you put in? And that's the big one. That's the one where people are losing so much money, because you lose money. You say, okay, this time I've now studied it. I know what I need to do. I need to change this. I need to change that. That you put the money, lost. Now I know my mistake. So are you in that space?
Yeah.
Your comments, Pompi.
No. I mean, I'm just in total agreement. I'm just reacting to what you're saying. It's so true. Yeah.
So number 7, and this one, my friends, if any of you hear me on this one, if you are doing this number 7, if there was a way we could score this would be very high on the score list. Number 7 is, are you lying and keeping gambling activities a secret from family, friends, or therapists? So have you reached a point where now you're hiding that fact? You you are not disclosing to these people, because essentially you now realize, Icona, this is bad. I'm now at a bad place, so let me keep this secret. Especially when you've been confronted about these things, you've been spoken to about them, and you know that there are losses being incurred. So you now become a secret addicted gambler. Sounds like secret drinking, sounds like secret pornography addiction. You know what I mean, huh? Number 8, have you found yourself accumulating financial obligations like debt, missing payments, and even going to the extent of cashing your savings to gamble? Then that's really scary. If you're in that space, my friends, and they're using that, then really you're in trouble. So are you using this to gamble? That's number 8. So are you taking cash? Are you finding yourself in a lot of Congolese? All right. Number 9, relationship issues. Have you found yourself having conflicts with your family because of the gambling? Has it come to a point where now you're having quarrels with your wife, you're having quarrels with your relatives, your brothers, sisters, or even your parents? Are there people that are saying, you know what, I think this is too much now. We can't even trust you anymore because you're busy putting the money in gambling. That's a bad place to be at. Let me pause again there, just in case you have any input on these last 3 I just covered. Secrecy, financial problems, relationship issues.
Yeah. Maybe what I'll just add is, gambling. It sort of creates it's quite interesting because it creates a cognitive distortion that makes you think you can predict random occurrences. It makes you feel you can predict. Now, the football is not different to a slot machine or those, that, I mean, you cannot predict. And that's the thing. That's why I'm saying it causes it sort of creates a cognitive distortion where you think that I can predict these random occurrences, which is never the case. You just can't. Yeah. You cannot be a professional predictor. So it's again, it's the odds in the background laughing at you. And that's what it is. If it's being taken as a game, that's okay. And you see why I particularly feel gambling is quite dangerous or the way it's being handled is quite dangerous is because, I mean, if we have youth, that statistic of, let's say, 200,000 youth, or let's say just Zambians, right? If these guys, their mindset in regards to growth or how to improve their lives becomes gambling or betting, or are based around luck and just that one-time win, it means that we won't have people who want to work. The culture will not be for work. It will be for instant gratification. Now, what instant gratification breeds is where you can forfeit your morals to get the financial gain. You can, that's where prostitution comes into play. That's where even crime comes into play. It is proven through research that gambling activities, when they increase, crime increases. It's not me who says it, it's data. So our job is to, yes, we are not even bringing spirituality into it, because people who are anti-religion or who are not Christian will say, no, Bible, I don't believe in that religion. We are talking scientific, we are talking research. So yeah. So I mean,
go on.
Yeah, so just to feed to what you're saying, why as you are saying, these people, it sort of gives them confidence in feeling that they are, so that's where also they are, what propels and perpetuates their addiction. Yeah.
And I love that you raised these points, because my next 3 points literally go into exactly what you've said. Number 10 question. Are you finding yourself repeatedly neglecting your responsibilities, meaning you're ignoring work, you're ignoring school, you're ignoring personal responsibilities in your family in order to gamble?
Yeah.
So are you seeing a neglect of responsibilities in your life in order to sustain this habit? So this is number 10. So if you are saying yes to these things, just know that assessment by the therapist, which Pompi talked about from the documentary, that's happening for you. That's happening right now. If you are
Just to
a
add a bit
person
of
who,
humor, not only responsibilities like paying rent and also hygienic responsibilities. Addicts also sometimes, let themselves go.
yeah, because if
That's
they,
how much it takes them. Bathing becomes a waste of time.
yes,
We don't want to
I
post up at that place and gamble the whole day. Of course, you should be.
I saw your picture. Was that on your page? I saw a picture where they showed people sleeping at a betting house on the floor, waiting for when it opens or whatever, so that they can continue. I was like, wow, that's heavy, huh? So people were really, really bound to this. I hope Pompi will come back. It looks like this picture is frozen, so we might just see him disappear again. But let me continue. Number 11, bailouts. Are you finding yourself looking for bailouts in order to be rescued from gambling debt? Are you seeking bailouts to be to be rescued from gambling debt? So you found yourself at a bad place. You find that you've lost your money and now you are in a minus big hole. Yeah, it's going to come back. And now you're looking for bailouts. That's number 11. Number 12. This is something that Pompi touched on. Are you finding yourself either being arrested or dealing with legal issues because of your illegality in terms of sustaining the habits, meaning you're getting into fraud, you're getting into theft, you're getting into stealing from your workplace or wherever it is in order to fund the gambling? A number of people who run mobile money booths have been arrested and locked up for this same problem. So I know nobody can come and tell me, no, it's okay. These people have lost their livelihood. They have eaten all the float. I have cases I'm aware of where individuals lost in excess of 20, 30,000 kwacha to gambling. One particular lady, I remember, she came to me talking about deliverance. We helped her through a process. I connected her to a good church and she was working. But then recently she found herself being arrested and she was plugged to a church with Bishop Shadrach Chisulo in Bread of Life, Chilanga. And that young lady was being helped. Unfortunately, I didn't know that she's an addict. She's a gambler. So the reason why she even came is because she was looking for help to stop the gambling. But then even after being helped, because she's already an addict, she found when she has money and things are a bit balanced for whatever reason, she went back again to gambling. And this time she found herself 30,000 kwacha short on her float. She had wasted the money through gambling. So imagine she will end up in jail because that's theft. I don't think the owner is going to practice forgiveness. The owner wants their 30,000 kwacha. And so she is a thief. She stole that money. Why? Because and that's the sad part. You steal the money to use it to gamble so that hopefully you can win. But unfortunately, most never win. So they end up in financial dire straits. They end up in bad standing with the law because they've eaten the money. So they've lost it and now they're in trouble. Okay, you're back. The 3 points very quickly. I ran through, which we're gonna kind of like begin to wind down. I said number 10, neglect of responsibilities. Are you ignoring work, school, or personal responsibilities? Number 11, are you finding yourself looking for bailouts from people? Are you seeking people to bail you out of debt? And then number 12, are you finding yourself engaging in illegal activities such as fraud and theft to fund gambling? And I gave an example, Pompi, of one young lady we were helping recently. She was going through spiritual issues. I connected her to Bishop Chisulo at Bread of Life Langa. They were helping her, but little did I know that her issues were actually gambling. So recently she ended up spending 30,000 kwacha and now the owner wanted the money and had her arrested. Now imagine she was sending me a message saying, Rev, please help me. I was like, 30? That's a lot of money, like Molo Esther is saying in the call. That's a lot of money, 30,000. What did you do with it? Oh no, I gambled it. I know this problem. So you see, and exactly what you touched on, Pompi, that people now will resort to criminality to sustain their habits. And you can imagine, Sister Kavaye here is saying, right now I know one who is in jail because of gambling addiction. So same thing you're saying. They end up stealing money and then they find themselves in problems.
Because desperation is not a place anybody should be. It's a dangerous place. And that's the problem.
Yeah.
This vice is a way of sucking you to the extent where you are in a desperate situation. To the extent where in trying to get out of that pressure, you might end up disappointing even family. And I know people who are watching this, who are listening, know people. This is not something that people are able to see. It's something that many families have been subject to.
Yeah. So the last three, and then we wrap up. So number 13, mental health concerns. Are you finding yourself experiencing depression, anxiety, or suicidal thoughts due to gambling? That's the one we started with. When you said 1 in 5, that's scary. 1 in 5? Considering suicide? Wow. So you can imagine the implications. So if people are reaching a point where they are considering suicide, it means they're under immense stress. Meaning this whole thing, there's no beauty to it, there's no goodness to it. Number 14, physical health problems. Have you found, that's where you talk again? It's so interesting you're touching this point. Are you neglecting physical health, leading to issues like sleep deprivation, poor nutrition, cardiovascular problems, and bad hygiene? It's bad now. Have you reached that point where you don't care about your looks anymore as long as you can just go and gamble? Now, I know that's a bit of an extreme, but they are there. That's why it's listed. And finally, number 15, are you finding yourself abandoning hobbies, social activities, and other interests because you want to just gamble? So those are the 15 questions. Okay. I like this point. I want you to comment on this one. Listen to what Naomi Mutale says. She says, alcohol and cigarette companies don't call people asking them to buy, but betting companies are calling and texting. That's interesting. Your take on that comment?
You can say they're in paradise. Yeah. I mean, that agenda is in paradise here. I mean, and that's what needs to change. What needs to change at a policy level. So another thing that I'll ask people, even who are watching, is obviously, I mean, as citizens, we can make submissions to even into Parliament, and they should just support this. I mean, Parliament is sitting early next month. They are sitting early next month. If you can, even if you've got access to your MPs or members of Parliament or ministers who, we need to make sure that this is put on the floor in Parliament, and that it's put on the table. I think if it's not something that's impossible for regulation to be put in place. I mean, that's why these systems are there. You can even make a citizen submission on which are routes that I'm willing to take if we need to go there. But obviously,
I will back you up 100%. In fact, I think we need to even start. Did you do it already? The petition. If we could run a petition where people sign and then we share it all over the place.
Yeah. No, but I have hope that this is not something that is a hard sale. Because it just isn't. I mean, you would now question anybody who says it's impossible to do, or somebody who's not necessarily in agreement. Because if we are saying vices should restrict the advertisement of vices to children, why would somebody openly and confidently disagree with that? Unless they've got a bad motive, unless the motive is just purely greed. So I think
because to be honest, Pompi, think about it. Why would influencers running platforms, literally reaching almost 500 to a million people, be supporting habits that are destroying lives. And you see what makes me feel actually worse is that you have individuals that are wealthy because of whatever business they're doing. It's not even the gambling. And then they are leveraging that. They remind me of papas in the dodgy churches, because they use the same idea. They show you a flashy lifestyle. They say, tap into this grace to receive a breakthrough. You know?
I actually gave a name to that model. I actually call it the aspiration model.
There you go.
Aspiration model. Live an aspirational life materially that, you know.
Oh man, have we just lost Pompi again? Oh man. I think we've lost him. But he's talking about the aspiration model, which ideally advertises a very flashy life. And you tell people you can have this as well, you know, gamble, bet, and use my promo code. For me, I think that's highly immoral. And I know it's a lot of people, very influential people, that are doing these. But unfortunately, it's still extremely immoral. And it's good Michael Michalis has come on the call because he supports this. So let me highlight his comment. He's saying, but the government is one of the beneficiaries of the returns from all those ventures of betting sites. Do you think they would support leave papas and alone Rev to a papata? So Michael and I are always doing these back and forths on this particular one. And I want to deal with this one because, you see, it's the same concept. Why do I talk about the papas? Because they all work on this idea that if you put money, you get something back. But it's not based on any real value. There's no real value there. It's just a promise and a dream that is not based on reality. And unfortunately, the people that are not savvy are then, deceived into putting money. We know very well that it's a betting situation. It's like the prosperity gospel that tells you, put in X amount of money and God will give you 100-fold increase. It's the same story. But gambling is worse. Kasako na kuchech, I've never heard of people being, addicted to giving money to the papa. But with the gambling, it's really bad because they even give you something back. Just that they keep bringing you back. The strategy is give them a bit of a breakthrough, give them a bit of a breakthrough. And then when they get a bit of money, then they'll be like, oh my God, if I put 1 million, imagine what I would have gotten. If I put 100,000, what would I have gotten? So they get into that. And one of the saddest things, my late uncle Tawonga, Piri, we buried him recently. He was a manager at one of the betting centers, call centers. And he told me a narration where somebody won 175,000 kwacha. They won 175,000 kwacha in betting. And it was really powerful, and they were very excited. And so the company told them, this kind of money we cannot send on mobile money, so we have to do it through the bank transfer. Can you please give us your bank details? So meantime, day one, he bet some money. They told him, please don't touch the money. Please give us the bank details. We facilitate this transfer quickly so that you can have your money. He says, no problem, I'll give you. The next day, he bet again. The other day, he bet again. By the time he sent the bank details and they were ready to transfer, there was zero. He wasted the entire 175,000 in 1 week. Ladies and gentlemen, that's how profoundly addictive this situation is. I will not lie to you. The majority of people never come out of this. They never do. In fact, Pompi is back. We need to do a wrap up now. Glad to have him back. Let's bring him there. All right, we got you back, brother. So what I would like you to do is do a wrap up, but I was just tackling this guy's comment who was saying that the government is gaining a lot and we like giving grief to the papas. And of course the gambling companies, everybody's gaining. So it's a venture. People have a choice to either follow it or not follow it. But anyway, your comment on that and then your conclusion as well, if you can. I'll also do my conclusion.
That's a statement, obviously, as a statement just left alone, the government gets taxes. I mean, I don't think brings the point home. The government gets taxes from who?
Yeah.
From who? This is not money that's coming in, that's investment money. This is money from the Zambian people. Now, if it's making money at the cost of people's lives, at the cost of addiction, that should be reviewed. It would now speak to the fabric of who are we as Zambian people? What are we? What do we stand for? Is
Very
that something
immoral.
it's very immoral. So, I mean, of course, I have faith in that. I mean, I started this because obviously I have a faith. I didn't start it thinking it's impossible, but I started it with faith. I still have faith in Zambia and in Zambians. Just like yourself, we are in agreement. I know there are people out there, who are in agreement. Thank you for being brave enough, Rev, to speak about such things. So I honor you for that as well. In fact, before I even posted it, I knew that I'm going to get backlash. Actually, I assumed worse backlash than I did. But actually, I see now that there are actually more people who are in agreement than there are those who are in disagreement. So I think it's something that we can easily change. I think we shouldn't look at the world and say, oh, no, but in this country, it's the same and what. It's about us setting a standard for ourselves. And saying, how do we believe we can protect future generations? How do we believe? I mean, the law is supposed to protect us and future generations, not just us. So, I mean, if betting is going to poison our culture and poison the fabric and mindset of how we live our lives, how we work, how we apply ourselves in society, I believe it's bigger than just looking at it as a game. It's actually something that is, I mean, it becomes a principle that people live by. And I think you can safely call it a principality if it becomes principle. Yeah. So if it is that, it needs to be dealt with accordingly. And I think we need to speak out about it. Yeah. So people should speak out about it, not just saying, no, wait for Pompi and Rev to speak about it. Because again, despite sometimes...
Our prayer is that this will galvanize people. Like, come on, guys, let's make this happen. Let's push this. I think I saw a comment from either Miles Sampa or one of these MPs who said we want to take it into Parliament. I really pray they're serious enough to push it into Parliament, because we really need to deal with this. And my concluding remarks are like yours. Next week, I'm hoping we can get a couple of people who can give us their testimonies. There's one guy I had a very lengthy conversation with in my private inbox about what he's had to deal with, David somebody. I just hope I'll remember his details. I told him, please message me. So if you're watching this now or later, please send a message, David. And I'm going to put some forms up within the course of the week, both on my page and on Pompi's, where we're going to ask those who want to do testimonials for next week so that we can tackle this. And then the week after, Pompi and I will be on radio. It's interesting that we're going to be on a radio station which has ads from gambling companies. But hey, it's my show. So I'll just let my people know, hey guys, I'm going to be doing some program here, which will be actually counter to your people. Is that okay? And if they give me the okay, I'll do it. But you know what? I will never, like you, Pompi, I will never endorse a gambling company. I will never endorse a cigarette selling company. I'll never endorse an alcohol selling company. I'll never endorse a nightclub. You see, it's one thing to find yourself in there because of reasons which are very difficult to explain, but circumstances sometimes find us in such places. But to endorse it, no thanks. I will not sit there and say, this is a good place, come here. No, this is a good deal. You can make some good money. Use my promo code. No. And this is me now taking it a step further than my brother Pompi here to call out the influencers. And some of them are my good buddies and friends. But I call you guys out. Like, honestly, in all decency, you are getting blood money, man. Sorry to say. You are taking blood money because you are not different than a drug pusher. You push something knowing very well at the end of that chain, there are people dying. Their lives being wrecked and destroyed. But as long as you make your commission, hey, it's okay. Let me make my commission. I'm here to make money. And I don't care about the people and what's going on with them. I think that's just deeply wrong. So I'm speaking to you as an influencer. If you happen to catch this, or if somebody is gracious enough to edit this little bit and throw it out there, this is me, Pompi and I, to you, to say, think about those brothers, think about those youth, think about those boys and girls who you are destroying just to make a commission, just to make money. You're a drug pusher. Please do not do that. And to those who are legislators, please join this fight. Help us push this into Parliament. Pompi, I will be behind you. Use your influence, use your reach, so that you can get more people on board, and then together we can push that into Parliament and see if there's some kind of regulation. We won't stop the gambling, that we've agreed, but at least we can put some restrictions around how the message is propagated, so that hopefully some lives are spared. Alrighty, so Pompi, thank you so much for being part of the call.
Thank you so much.
Stay on. To those of you watching us, next week we're back, hopefully with a number of people with testimonials who are going to tell you in their own words, exactly what they've gone through, the hell they've suffered. I hope we can get them on video so they can give you their own testimony. How people are struggling with this thing. So from all of us, adios, take care, have a great evening, and stay away from betting.